I just woke up. It's 5 something in the morning. These photo albums were already out from underneath the bed because we were looking for a picture. Anyway, I figured I'd just go through them real quick. Not to talk about me, although it's going to seem like that, but it's more just to document them for my kids and grandkids one day, whatever. And I don't have everything here, but we'll just try to fly through them as fast as I can. Says number 1, which means it's going to be childhood. I got a baby book somewhere. There's a picture of my mom and dad in the back of a car. That's them in a boat. There's a picture of the house. That's from high school there. Jordan, and that's out of place. There's Michelle and the boys. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's all 6 of us. So that's me, Wayne, Marcia, David, Char, Bill. Me as a baby. That's me, Tony, and Jeff golfing. That doesn't belong in there either. Me as a baby. There's the house again, which my kids got a picture in front of it when they were like 5, 7, 10. Oh, Disney. Me and my dad and mom. 1970. More pictures. My dog, cousins, plane. My dad doing some military stuff. There's my old dog, Lobo. Me as a baby. The house and yard again. The yard. More family pics. A little bit. There's a picnic. I guess I did get to go on one camping trip. Oh, the motorcycles. Honda Trail 70s and Indian 50s and my XR 75. Skating. Scouts. Just random pictures. Family. Beach. Wow, we had inner tubes. Boy, I guess we could use whatever we found. Biking, playing cowboy. That was my mom's second marriage. And more pictures. My dad took Bill and I on an airplane ride. It looks like their first flight. Plane. There's my dad giving me a fishing rod. Studying. My mom was such a good mama, always making me study. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. There's Marcia, Shar, Wayne, David, Bill. Yeah, pretty much everybody's in that picture. Other pictures, baseball, my grandpa on his Harley, skiing. My mom took us all skiing once. Took us to Charlotte. There's Bill and I. Bill and I hung out a lot. There's the whole family at Christmas again. Some baseball pics. I wasn't that good, just like soccer. I was just average. Michelle always loved that picture. I'm looking at a monkey. Me doing donuts. Skateboard. That was Marcia's wedding. My birthday. Mom, Bill, and I, we were always going to see her mother. There we are again, going to see her and Aunt Carlene and my grandma. She always had my dad over for events, even though they divorced when I was 2. There's my mom and all my cousins and everybody. We had a lot of family visits to St. Pete and Tampa. There's Grandma Moody. There's a high school pic. We met some band. We were going to see Kiss, and they opened up. That was going hunting, and almost died that day, actually, North Carolina. I was a kid, went with a friend, and we were shooting a bunch of chickens. That was 8th grade. My mom sent me to a Christian school for a while. What else? More pictures. Blake, Sam, Bruce, Greg Imperial, a lot of my friends. That was playing in the woods. We had rope swings. Oh, my dad took us to New York, Bill and I. That was us at the museum. There's Bill and I in Central Park. Snowboarding, skiing. hunting. We used to do a lot of hunting in high school. That was lobstering down in the Keys. Had a lot of good friends. David Atkinson, I think that was with his uncle. And my mom, that was my dad when he was a clown. Literally a clown. He was funny, but he did the clown thing for a while. What else? There's Grandma Eberly. Me, baby. Oh, my beautiful mama. Oh, there's my Grandpa Goddard, lived to be 100. Or my great-grandpa, excuse me. All right, this is going into... that was basic training picture. Basic training, 1988, Fort Dix. Some of my old buddies, my dad and sister came to my graduation there, Fort Dix, New Jersey. More Army pics. We thought we were so cool. We took a lot of pics because we were doing cool stuff. This was all AIT. We didn't really have cameras in basic training. I think I snuck one. I hid it up in the roof. Somewhere in the roof of the building. And I would sneak it out now and then if we were doing something cool. More pictures. Hunting. Oh, there's my old Ninja. I guess I kept that. Sweet. Doing some, whatever you call that, knee boarding. We used to do a lot of skiing and fishing. This was DC, AIT. Oh, and then we got sent to Germany. That was my room in Germany. 4 guys to a room. That sucked. We had to buff the floors. Oh, just partying with buddies and doing, this was the combat run team. It says it was a 6K combat run. We beat the Rangers. So you had to run with your weapon and jump a bunch of obstacles. On weekends, we would jump out of planes. That was fun. We didn't even know what we were doing. We were taught in the backyard of my buddy's house. We told the Germans we knew what we were doing. There I am right there. We would jump. It was like $25. Sergeant Robinson, he helped get me into that. We had a lot of good times going to castles and just museums and cathedrals, learning history. Took college classes at night. Traveled all over Europe. It was cool. Some old 7th grade, 6th grade. Okay, that one's done. Yay. This goes in this one. I'll just go to high school next. This was high school, some high school pics. Only picture from soccer. My dad got a picture of us huddling up or something. I think he came to one game. I think I had one person come to a wrestling match once, and that's why I quit. That was my 17th birthday party. My mom always had good parties. That was skiing. There's wrestling. There's Dubin and Radzak, and I got pictures of, there's Shaler and Chris Brock. There's my old Ninja. I was fairly popular. I had a lot of friends. There's a good picture of a lot of dudes. There's Kevin McNamara, who died, and who else is in there? Mike Breen and Anthony. Is a bunch of dudes. This was prom. I was just starting to date Michelle, so I was already going with somebody else, but I wasn't dating them. It was just like, a setup, because I wasn't dating anyone. But I did get to dance with my wife. She was 2 years behind me. There she is. And there's my dad and my mom. All of us together. These are all just things that nice girls wrote on their cards. Whatever their class pictures, whoever they were. I had a lot of friends. They weren't girlfriends, of course. I wasn't really into dating. I was too immature. There's Mark and Don. Me dancing at something. What else? else? Just guys fishing, old buddies. Was diving with my dad in the Keys. And there's me and Radcliffe and Tucker and Sam in Puerto Rico. We went to Puerto Rico after graduation. Oh, blah, blah, blah. The rainforest. Hanging out on La Quillo. Just having fun. Some surfing. I wasn't that good at surfing either, but I did enjoy. There's the class picture. Shows the whole class. 1988. I'm in high school. I grew up with all these people, so it was cool. Elementary school, middle school. Had a lot of good friends, good people I got to graduate with. And there's some other friends. That's probably spring break. We would have hurricane parties and spring break and all that stuff. All right, this is number 2. 9 marches. That was cool. I was on that team for a while. Oh, there's my United States Parachute Association. 1990. I don't know how the hell I got a card. It must have been something I joined. Yeah, we used to jump out of a lot of planes just for fun on the weekends. This says a trip to Austria. There's Dachau, the famous concentration camp down near Munich, which I took Michelle to eventually. That's skiing in the Alps. It's just looking at the window. There's the barracks. Oh, that's in Holland with Gordillo and Malik. That was a good trip. Here's me swinging on a rope. I was always bored, crazy, and never cared what people thought of me. And I like to make people laugh. Car broke down. It looks like we always had junky cars. This is all Holland, Belgium. Went to probably 20-something countries while I was over there. We spent our nights and weekends as good as possible. I mean, we drank too much beer and, typical young kids out trying to be cool. But we did go to a lot of, like I said, museums and college classes at night. And we'd travel on the weekends. We didn't just sit in the barracks and drink. Wow, there's an old picture. Private first class. Oh, that's funny. That thing's full of pee, that big beer mug. Oh, this is meeting my mom and Char down in Venice. Oh, that was a long drive back. God, I remember that. But those were good times. Got to ride bulls on the weekends. Sometimes I joined the rodeo. That was Oktoberfest. That was always fun. Got to go to Soviet bloc countries. Oh, this is cool. This is when the wall came down in Berlin. There's me right there. We were chipping on the wall. I got to go through Checkpoint Charlie. There's beating on the wall right there. There's the other side of the wall. If you think communism is good, go there. There's me posing with 2 girls, pretending I'm probably dating them or something. Typical insecure guy. If I had a chance to look cool, I would. Oh, there's a guy chipping on the wall, and the Soviet guard was letting him, I think. Then he kicked him off. Oh, this is going through Checkpoint Charlie. So that was probably a year before. I went through that, and they were called Class A's. We had to go through in uniform. And that's the first time flying on a Chinook. That was cool. I remember that. And setting up tents in the snow for 30 days. It was called Reef Forger, and it sucked. But, it's all we knew. You just deal with it. Roll with it. Army training. It's just training with the German soldiers. There's me, Malik Holbrook. Just having fun with the guys. Doing some M60 shooting. Griggs was another soldier we used to hang out with. He was the guy who helped me do that rap. This is hanging out in Paris with, looks like Sewell, Malik, Gordillo, Brian Graham. Had a lot of good times, good friends. We just traveled on the weekends. There's Jim Morrison's grave. wars. Blah, blah, blah. Paris. This was Denmark, Sweden. There's me and Bo9. He died. He was on the Belgium March of Memory and Friendship with me and this guy. I forgot who he was. That's us marching through the woods. We would just march for, I think that was like 20 miles a day through the mountains, and we'd do it 4 days straight. Belgium March of Memory and Friendship, it was called. And that's me on a tank in Bastogne, Belgium. That's where the Battle of the Bulge was. And then I joined the Nijmegen March team, and that was like 20-something a day. That's us with moleskin on our feet and stuff. It was tough because we had to carry a ruck, as you can see, and we'd drink beer at night, as you can see, get up the next day and suck it up and go again. And I was the cadence caller, so I'd wake up a little hungover. Oh, my Belgian grandma. She was a sweet old lady I used to walk with while we were out marching. I just took kindly to her, and she came to visit us in Florida. She used to write me letters. She was there during the Battle of the Bulge, and she talked about it. Remembering the American soldiers came and saved everybody. This must be London. Me and Barger with some girls we met in London. There's Griggs, Bo9, a bunch of other dudes. We met the guitarist of Def Leppard in London as well. And I forgot his name, but he ended up dying. Sachsenhausen, it says on that. That's where we used to drink beer. This is Belgium or Nijmegen. I don't know. That's probably Nijmegen. There's Sergeant Barr. He was my favorite NCO. He was on the team with us. It was so cool. People would come out and ask us for autographs, especially me, since I was the cadence caller, so that was kind of cool. Girls would come up and kiss me as we're going through town, give flowers, etc., as the American soldiers came. All right, this is back home, hanging out with some old friends, doing some skimboarding, and had a party. Looks like a cake party with all the guys and girls. I think Michelle stopped by. We were kind of dating, like we kept in touch. But there's all the guys. You see, same with the guys I mentioned from childhood. Oh, there's Michelle and I. So we kept in touch. There's me and Dubin, surfboard. And there's me, I think Michelle and I visited my grandma. Another party, same old guys in that picture. Everybody I pretty much mentioned. There's me and Wayne and Bill. It's us canoeing. We went to Wakaiwa a lot. Playing some volleyball, just hanging out with friends. There's Michelle, actually. I think she's on my back on a knee board. This is going to the races, dragster races. I hung out with Blake and Radcliffe and Sam and a lot of guys, Okay, this is back in Germany. Bad Dürkheim, Weinfest. This guy died too. I think he killed himself. We had a lot of guys. His name was Stevenson. A lot of guys wax themselves or die of a heart attack or whatever. This is Czechoslovakia, which is no longer. And that was before the wall came down. The Soviet Union crashed. And this is just visiting Czechoslovakia. Oh, that guy's name is Joel. That's Sergeant Terry, one of my favorite sergeants. There I am in the picture, the only white boy in that picture of 30 black friends of mine. I think that was his birthday party. Anyway, him and I are still in touch. We got to get together. This is us playing Army. I always called it playing Army. We're just training. Oktoberfest with Brian, Petra, and some other folks. Oktoberfest was it's like the world's largest cake party. This is me, Sue, and Barger in Spain and Portugal. Oh, we rode horses on the beach. That was cool. There's a picture of us bareback. I think we gave them some beers and they gave us their horses. My German family, I spent Christmases with them. This is us hanging out at the NCO club, the Rainbow Club it was called. I don't know where this is, Prague, maybe, could be Budapest. There's Darmstadt, that was the town I was in Germany. Friends, hanging out, oh God knows, oh this is Budapest. Budapest, this is back in the late 80s, 90s. Ed Amato, man, we tried to look him up. There's Lee Fligge, some old soldier friends, skiing in Germany or Switzerland or France. The Alps skiing was awesome. More pictures of skiing. More pictures of skiing, having fun. Big Tim, I think he killed himself too, bless his heart. Soldiers have a high rate of suicide because they're not afraid to use the gun. And their past stresses, so that's riding dirt bikes, hanging out with my German family. So they kind of adopted me. So I spent Christmases with them and would hang out with them. This is New Year's. I think we went to Holland a lot for fun. There's my car. I had the little Florida thing hanging from it. I was just a typical young punk. Thought I was cool though. Oh, there's Cheryl Bonehine. She was cool. And it's not her name anymore. This guy was named Stretch. We just played a lot of drinking games when we would get bored, or play cards, or we'd wrestle and fight. Refrigerators. Oh, that's skiing in Garmisch. Refrigerators full of beer. There's Tony Stewart. That's me. I got interviewed for the little paper. And I was a mechanic, but I hated it because it was so boring. So I joined all the special teams like Ruck Marching and all that combat run teams and the land nav teams, whatever, all this stuff, just to get out of the office. But there it is. It says Specialist Eberly. I did become the commander's driver my last 6 months on active duty, so that was cool. This is just us being us, hanging out with protesters and other stuff. There's my wall locker during an inspection, hanging out in the room, hanging out with the guys, keg parties, my dad visiting. I think my brother Wayne came to visit as well. That's in the gas chamber, partying with the folks, skiing with the guys. We did a lot of skiing, man. It was cool. Barger and I were up in the middle of the Alps, man. That was cool. This is just hanging out with the guys. Us hanging out. A lot of party pictures. Oh, this is my sister, Shar. She had some reggae band she sent to Europe, so I took some leave and traveled with them as their road manager. I just had to collect the money, make sure they had beer, and get them from show to show. And make sure they don't smoke too much ganja. It was good times. Some free travel around Europe. He died also, Captain Wilkerson. And this is us partying in Frankfurt, having a good time. Blah, blah, blah. There's not much to do in the Army. It's like a drink and running club. There's me and Sergeant Barr. He was my favorite guy. He died too, man. He used to hang out, come visit me in North Carolina and Florida, actually. He stayed with me a bunch, and I stayed with him, riding some dirt bikes. Don't know how we got a hold of dirt bikes over in Germany. More Army training. I remember the guys flipping a Humvee. We did some cool stuff. That's me picking up a keg from my 21st birthday party in the commander's vehicle. I had a good job there. That's the guys that got sent to Kuwait for the Gulf War. They saw a lot of stuff blown up. Those are all dead bodies that are just sitting in the dirt. It was kind of I think it was called the 100-Hour War. We just lit them up by air. And then, so there was just not much of a mess to clean up. This doesn't belong in here. I don't know why this is here. Me and the guys dressed up like Kiss. That's me, Sam, Blake, and Radcliffe. So I must have been home on leave or something. All right. Goodness, I know this is going slow. I'll try not to pick it up. Rodeo, fever, catch it, skydiving. Be all you can be. That was the best Army slogan ever. You know, we didn't have Facebook back then. We took pictures to remember everything. There's Leaning Tower of Pisa, Holland, windmill, blah, blah, blah. What is this? Okay, so this is visiting Italy. And that is, oh, there's Wayne in the picture. So my brother Wayne came to visit. And we went to Italy, France, Monaco, Switzerland, back to Germany, the Rhine River, and just castles. Oh, this is when I went to Russia. That was really cool, man. That was a trip. Leningrad, Moscow, St. Petersburg. I still got a lot of stuff from Russia. It's funny, the stuff you bring home you think you're going to keep. Went to see a opera. Went to a lot of museums. That's me doing schoolwork. Man, it's all kinds of cool. The old czars' tombs, and Russia had a lot of cool history. The Russian Orthodox Church. There's just so much history where the communism didn't work out and they stifled the church. I still got that hat. That's a Russian soldier's hat. I think I traded stuff. And some of it I've sold, given it away, whatever. This is back in Germany. Somebody stole that painting of mine. When I left, you know, you got to pack everything up. We did a lot of barbecues, a lot of beer drinking, a lot of having fun. Oh, this is the rodeo days. There's the rodeo days. That's me. That's my old car, the Green Gator. I gave Morgan the best picture of me. I rode bareback. That's me out there on the horse. There it is, bucking me. It was harder than bulls, if you ask me. There's me on a bull. I gave Morgan the best picture of me on a bull. There's me on a bull. Covered every bull. There's me in the Green Gator. That was my car. And just some friends hanging out at the rodeo. Pictures of me riding. Then we drink beer after. There's me on a wild horse. Us with cowboy hats thinking we're cool. Old friends. This is our trip to Greece. I think we went to Crete. And then we went to Turkey. That was fun. Diving into the water. Man, it was cool. This kid's bringing us some beers. I don't know how he could get the beers. Us dancing, having fun. Oh, that was the cool car we rented. That was on Crete. There we are on the back of a C-130. And just partying at the barracks. Deberg Lake. Wow. It says extra money. We had some entrepreneurial practices. Just hanging out in the barracks. There's a sergeant coming in. We were always fighting just for fun. There's a keg in our refrigerators. Us with the cowboy hats. Back at the rodeo. Riding. Used to keep in touch with a lot of these guys, but that you just move on in life. You have friends for a time. Oh, we played softball. My nickname was Hollywood. I thought I was so cool. All the blacks called me Hollywood, and then the whites started to also, because I had those Oakley shades. There's my crappy car. Just barracks partying. Oh, there's me with Michelle. So I must be home for good. Praise the Lord that I had a good girlfriend. Like I said, we met in high school. We didn't stay together too long because I was joining the Army, but long enough to where she fell in love, and I was like, maybe she is something special, but I was too young and immature. There we are at Wakaiwa. That's me and my whole family. My dad's there. My mom would always let him come over, like I said. That's probably a Thanksgiving. We all had our shirts off. We were probably playing football. And there's Michelle holding Hannah. And anyway, so I eventually fell in love as I matured. Another party with all the guys from high school. And there's my old trip. My mom bought me that. Obviously, I had to pay her, and it was a piece of junk, but she thought she was doing me a favor when I got out. Then I traveled again with the reggae band. There's Pablo Moses. Through Canada and all over the U.S., which allowed me to hit all 50 states. But some of it was just driving through, so I need to go back. I need to go see some states again, like North Dakota and other states where there's some cool stuff, I'm sure. Traveling with the reggae band. Back home again. There's Sweet Michelle. And my sister's family, Marcia, who I'm actually heading to her celebration of life coming up this weekend because sadly she passed. It's just having fun with friends. Oh, that's all the family at Bennigan's restaurant. Friends coming to visit me from the Army down to Florida. There's me, Shaler, Radzak, etc. at the beach. There's my old Carmen Gia, piece of junk. There's my sweet mother, God rest her soul. This is all of us playing charades. Must be for my birthday. There's Marcia and all of her kids. David, AJ, Michelle. Oh, this is flying with my friend. I took Michelle and her sister. And there's the airplane. Anyway, he passed. There's his old card I kept. That's us flying over Orlando. There's my house right there from the air. That's Michelle and I camping in college. Hanging out with Dale, Lisa, other friends. Family picture on that back porch. My nephews and nieces. There's me building them a fort. And Michelle and I would babysit my nephews and nieces. What am I on? 5. Goodness. Leadership. If it ain't. Oh, this is ROTC in college. There's a list of all the guys' names. I sang the national anthem at the military ball. My friend played it on electric guitar. This is just a military ball. There's Michelle looking pretty. All of us soldiers were all dressed up. Training in Army ROTC in college. Michelle's 20th surprise birthday party. And this was Michelle and I. We went to Charleston in college and then up to, that's Fort Belvoir, Virginia. And the Rock was still there like 4 years later that me and all the guys painted from our class. Visiting the Vietnam Memorial, etc. in D.C. Michelle and I traveling West Virginia, seeing old friends. These were some caverns we visited somewhere in Virginia, I think. Michelle and I skiing. There she is. Her first time skiing. She did great. That was Beach Mountain, it says. Visiting friends in college. That's me naked out in the parking lot with a President Nixon mask on. I guess I lost a dare or something. And this is golfing a little bit and hanging out at Thanksgiving. My mom always had the best Thanksgiving dinners and Christmas. She was such a good sport. There's David's wedding. And there's my grandma, friends, camping. We did a lot of canoeing, stuff like that. Spring break at the beach. That's Ace Frehley. There's me and Brock and Shaler and all the guys hanging out in college and Radcliffe, etc. Camping, jumping off bridges, more Army training, Fort Bragg, doing some rappelling, shooting, typical soldier stuff. Flying on choppers. Here's Michelle and I in Miami at the Fontainebleau. I worked at the Hilton part-time while I was in college. And hanging out in Miami, Sunset Beach. Michelle and I fishing on a boat called Popeye. Michelle spraying me down with a hose. Me and Radcliffe painting the garage, mowing the lawn. There's a horseback riding. I guess Michelle and I went on. Michelle dressed up for Halloween. That's somebody's wedding. Fishing with Fowler. More hanging out with friends. Halloween. There's my sweet mother. And there's my dad and Aunt Joyce. Hanging out. Brothers and sisters at the house getting ready for Christmas. Playing in the yard. That's my dad playing with. I think that's Hannah he's got up in the air. That's us doing paintball with some of my brothers and friends. Visiting cousins. Paintball, brothers, David's wedding, me thinking I'm cool, David's wedding, Michelle shooting some guns, catching fish, we were camping, and my old truck, and there we are shooting some skeet. That was Chris's wedding. I was in a lot of weddings back then. I had a lot of friends from childhood, like I said. Oh, there's my mom and my grandpa. Me and Shade are running a trout line. We caught a lot of catfish, turtles, gators, whatnot. Oh, this is Michelle and I in Jamaica. It's me and Pablo driving around. Pablo Moses. We hung out with his family, stayed a few nights, and then we moved on to Sandals Resort. That was a good trip. There's me doing a backflip, you can't tell, but way off the cliffs of Negril. That was cool. Michelle laying out, us in the cove. We got to do a lot of cool snorkeling. We cooked some dinners on our own. Floated the rivers. There's me at the top of a coconut tree. They couldn't believe that I had climbed it. All the blacks were going, "We never see no white boy climb no tree like that, man." I climbed it just like them. I shimmied up. I think Michelle peaked that night. She had too many beers. Ocho Rios. We did some really cool stuff. There we are snorkeling. Oh, that's Dunn's Rivers Fall or something like that it's called. That was cool. There's that picture of us, me holding her up. And that was going through Fern Gully. We drove all over the island. I don't know if I'd do that now. Michelle and I had another wedding. She's so beautiful and still beautiful. That was Blake's wedding. All of us singing on stage. Took Shara fishing. She caught her first bass. I think that's me or Shaler. It might be Shaler with a red fish. Him and I went. That's a reception. Michelle's birthday. This is all of us went rafting up in South Carolina. That was the river that was filmed in that movie with Burt Reynolds. Man, there's us going over the rapids. That was wild rapids. This was Michelle's birthday present. We went on a hot air balloon ride. That was cool. Oh, wow, that rock's there. That was the monument at ROTC that we left behind with all of our names on it. That's me riding motorcycles in Minnesota. And Michelle and I, my old motorcycle. Looks like some old pictures. There's fishing in Minnesota. And fishing in Minnesota and riding motorcycles at my Uncle Bill's. Seeing my cousins. Fishing. Walleye, pike. Good times. Another redfish. We caught a lot of fish. Growing up, we'd go into the coast. Obviously, a lot of bass also. This was a bunch of us in college. Rented a bus and went to a party. Where was that at? Daytona Beach, spring break. Michelle and Dawn. Shaler's dancing behind me. I'm sitting there. God, we had fun. I think Brian was with us that night. It's me and Rad doing the driveway. Wow, my house never looked so good. It's painted yellow now and all the trees grew up, but that was a beautiful house that my dad built. All 6 kids were raised in it. Jamie Frabel, wow, I forgot that name. That was him and I dirt bike riding. There's Shaler kissing a red. We did a lot of fishing, me, Shaler, Blake, some other dudes. Michelle and her sisters at Busch Gardens. 6 killed in plane crash. That was my buddy. There's me and him flying. He ended up dying. He was a pilot, and he ended up dying in a plane crash that I was actually supposed to be on. I had National Guard that weekend, so that was a God thing. But I was invited to go. Him and 5 other dudes. It was sad, sad, sad. I kept in touch with his parents forever and visited them, etc. They just recently passed. Me and Brian duck hunting, playing softball with the guys. There's Little Red, Big Red, some other dudes. There's Lee's Lakeside overlooking Lake Eola, Michelle and I's favorite restaurant. That's when I proposed to her, dressed up like a knight in shining armor, drove up on a horse, had a cop directing traffic, my buddy hiding in the bushes videoing. She was shocked. Shar took her to, I think they were going to dinner, just sitting on the bench. That's her showing off her ring. That's her on the horse with me. There's Lake Eola in the background, downtown Orlando. Pictures before and after. This is college graduation. All my family came to that, and that's when I got commissioned as second lieutenant. My dad swearing me in, my mom and Michelle pinning me, and more Army stuff, the after party at my house that my mother threw me. A lot of good friends in there. There's Dan, Rad, Mark, Brian, Blake, Brock, etc., etc. My mom gave me some cool gifts. There's my dad and mom. There's Shar, Bill, my dad, everybody in these pictures, Marcia, etc. That's just a Christmas photo. Aunt Joyce, wow, we had big parties. Us playing hoops, me fishing, me riding dirt bikes, hanging out in Miami. What was his name? Scott. He was a male model or something. He ended up becoming, we lost touch, but that was me visiting him. There's me, Sam, Brian, some other dudes, Michelle and I camping. Scott King was his name. There's me and Shaler and some other dudes hanging out. There's Fowler and the gang, Brian, Radcliffe, Dan McLaughlin. Oh, this is me when I had to go to officer basic course in, I think it was Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland, for 5 months after college. I made the best of it, as you can see, skiing, fishing on the weekends. But it sucked. It was basically like going back to college. And that's me and Big Will and his brothers. I had these 3 big black friends from my active duty days. They would stop by and hang out, and all these young lieutenants, a lot of them were white. They were like, how do you know these dudes? And I'm like, I had another life when I was enlisted, hanging out with some rough dudes, some big dudes, some cool dudes. Anyway, there's the Twin Towers. That was obviously before 9/11. I went there. I think I got a picture with Bill and I in front of that at 15. This is just hanging out, going to see New York City, DC. Michelle came to visit me. There's me and my buddy Bull. Probably, we're in Philly. So that's just taking a tour in Philly. My dad came to visit me. Atlantic City, catching some fish, barracks parties, just more Army stuff, graduations, fishing, blah, blah, blah. We rented a boat there, wherever that was. I've been to so many bases, I can't even remember the names, start to get all mixed up. Oh, that bottle was from Russia. We were seeing some sights. I was an ordnance officer, then transportation, then quartermaster, Army training, field training, Gettysburg. Man, so much. Recovering vehicles, tanks. That was part of our training. We had to learn ammunitions. What else? We had to do war planning, all this crap. Michelle came to visit. Like I said, that's us in Baltimore. And we'll go to a ball game. There's my dad and I. He came to visit. We went to Amish country. Army stuff. Hanging out with friends back at home. Sergeant Barr coming to visit me. There's my sister Marcia, Michelle, Wayne, me and Radcliffe cutting down trees. After hurricanes, we do that. There's me painting the fireplace. I was always working on Mom's house. Look at my truck, the stuff. Oh, you can't even see my truck. There's so much trees in it. Radcliffe and I laughing. Made a lot of money. There's my other car. It says, "Get her done." Oh, man. So many pics. Surfing, hanging out with the Milsteads. There's George making fun of his belly. God rest his soul. Me throwing a cast net down in the water. Getting wet. All right, number 7. Colorado. Oh, so this is after our honeymoon. So I guess I should go to wedding first. Wedding real quick. There's our engagement photo. It says Michelle and Joel. This must be the wedding napkin. October 7th, 1995. Lou Gardens, blah, blah, blah. It says the bridesmaids, the groomsmen. My dad got us that amazing Joel and Michelle married. Wedding photos. D'Amico Eberly wedding. There's Michelle and her dad coming down the aisle. Michelle and her bridesmaid. Little Hannah was the flower girl. Me and my brothers. Michelle and her sisters. It was a beautiful wedding. There's the wedding party. And then all of my family with us. And that was just a picture of Michelle and I. I think just a lot of good pictures here of wedding stuff. It was a great wedding. Holy Max. There's tons of wedding photos here. Just goes to show, once it's over, it's over. It's no big deal. People just move on. There's pictures of her mom, her dad, cakes and friends and dancing and more friends. All the wedding stuff. Us eating cake. Her and I at the end of the night. Me and my grandma dancing. Oh, there's my dad and mom dancing. Friends dancing. Oh, there's sweet Aunt Mary. Me and my buddies dancing. I think the last song was Kiss. There's me throwing that, whatever you call that thing. Me and my dad. Tony giving a speech. Me and all the guys. There's the car they did all up. There's a good video somewhere. Anyway, it was a good time. Number 7. This is after the honeymoon. Oh, this was us after, I don't know what you call that. Maybe that's a marriage shower or whatever. A bunch of friends had that for us. All the old guys over there. Wish I could see everybody who was in this picture. That was a lot of the people out front. Looks like all the girls. Oh, I built this trailer and we packed all our stuff in. The Gates Rubber Company in Denver, Colorado hired me. They make the belt for the Harley and a bunch of other stuff. That plant is no longer there. Michelle and I moving to Denver. That's her looking down at a river. Her and I skiing. We stayed with her aunt in Colorado Springs for a few months, and then we bought a condo in Denver. We had the best times, man. Hiking, skiing, camping. We would hike up Pikes Peak, stay at bar camp. We would mountain bike, ice fish. Man, there's the rodeo museum. Me with Gates doing stuff. Her and I at the rodeo. There's her in the woods. Her sliding down the whole bar trail was ice. We mountain biked, camp, cross-country skied. There's her with a cow at the rodeo. This is ice climbing and rappelling. Very cool. Me and some buddies on the Gates roof. Michelle and I in hot springs. There's my dad at the hot springs. He came to visit. My dad and I, and we saw bighorn sheep and Dall sheep, mountain goats. There's my dad and I and my cousin Marcia Joe, who's also passed, us skiing. I think Michelle crashed. She still complains about her thumb. This is me. I surprised my buddy Sam. And there's Vina. Flew in, hung out with them at a wedding. Bunch of other friends in these pictures. Back with Gates. Me and my grandma Moody, bless her heart. Man, there's little Ashley, my niece. And this is back with Gates. I got to fly on their Learjet around the country. That was pretty cool. Just to go visit plants. That was part of my training. And there was our condo. That was our view from our condo in Cherry Creek. And we could see downtown Denver. There's me painting the doors. We did a lot of work. There's Michelle sitting in her robe on our porch. It was a 1-bedroom little penthouse. Snow behind her. There's the buffalo. Us camping in the middle of nowhere, mountain biking, skiing. First few years of marriage was awesome. There's the great sand dunes. And there is Mesa Verde, the cliff dwellings. That's Michelle and I. There's her holding a big old trout. And she caught a lot of trout, did a lot of camping. There's her little go-kart that we used and took everywhere. The old mill in Marble. Camping in Aspen, Maroon Bells, it says. There's waterfalls. Holy moly, we did some cool stuff. Old ghost towns. There's my best friend George. That was when the Colorado Avalanche won. We went to a lot of professional games in Cali and Colorado. There's her cute little car. We took that thing everywhere. All over the Rocky Mountains and all over the western states. Everything you could imagine. There's trout fishing. There's a big elk right next to me while I'm trout fishing. There's Michelle feeding a little chipmunk right on her lap. There's her fishing and elk. There's George and I doing some gate stuff. We were like rock stars. There's beautiful Michelle again. Her and I biking in downtown Denver. Her with her family, uncles, aunts, grandparents. Me and George golfing. We were both the sales trainees, so we got to do a lot of cool stuff. Golfing and traveling. Michelle and I at the Grand Tetons and Yellowstone. Obviously, we saw buffalo and everything else you could imagine. There she is. There's the hot springs. We camped for a week. It was so cool. We saw everything you could imagine. We took showers in the hot river. Took naps. There I am showering. We'd get dressed up and go out to dinner. Man, it was cool. There's Old Faithful. Saw all kinds of. There's a little fawn jumping. Oh, it was cool. There's a wolf, coyotes, buffalo, or bison. There's her and I hiking. This is the Olympics back in Atlanta. Oh, there's mountain biking, Moab. God, that was sick mountain biking. Visiting my family, so we must have flown home and seen her parents and mine. That's actually her family and my family. My dad must have set up a picnic. Mountain biking out west was sick. There's me on the top of a cliff, and you could look down, like you could fall easy. That's looking down at the road. It was crazy, the sick stuff we did. I took Colton there, actually, but it was so hot we didn't get to ride Slick Rock too much. Hanging out in Denver with friends and family, going to a Kiss concert. Michelle and I at a Denver Broncos game. Hanging out with my cousin Marcia Joe, or my second cousin. Camping. Michelle's sister Monica came to visit. And there's all of her uncles and aunts and us camping. The Continental Divide, Estes Park. Oh, that was Michelle on one of those flume ride things. I don't know. There's us on the Learjet going somewhere. I wrote Gates College, or I got that from a magazine, but that was cool. Oh, that's us out in Utah at Arches National Park. I remember that picture. There's like Michelle's right here. I'm right there. I don't think that arch is there. Some of the arches have actually fallen, sadly. Michelle and I. Oh, there's some petroglyphs. That was my little black car. We drove that all over the place too. Grand Canyon. I think that's when we hiked the Grand Canyon with my brother. We went down and back in one day. We went to Vegas that night. Whew, it was a long day, a lot of hiking. Michelle was a trooper. Yep, there's Vegas that night. I remember walking around limping. There's us on the Stratosphere. That ride was so crazy. That was on the top of the whatever. There's the Hoover Dam. Vegas, 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 Zion. We went to Arches and we camped. And we went to all the parks. God, we saw some real beauty out there. There's Bryce Canyon. Zion Canyon. Just goes on and on. So beautiful. Oh, Lake Powell. Yeah, I rented a boat. And there is, what's that one called? Rainbow Bridge. And you can only get to it by boat, or you got to hike way in. We camped, we caught fish. And that was so cool. Man, it was cool. There's the condo in Denver. We had that thing for like 20-something years, putting new tile in. I put in tile on carpet. There's me and all the Gates folks. I'm still friends with my boss, Mike Fitz. I see him often when I go to Denver, which I go to every year or two. Michelle and I were just there. We still talk. He's always been a good friend and mentor. There's me and Shaler diving, lobster, spear gunning some stuff. I think I almost died that day too. My dad and I and Michelle at the house my dad built, and my mom made a home for 6 kids. Another Christmas. This is Reno, New Year's Eve with all the old buddies back in Florida. There's Gates. Man, that was such a great company. I was so honored to be hired by them. Michelle and I got sent to San Francisco after Colorado. So there's Fisherman's Wharf and all that, the Golden Gate. We had great years out there too. There's her and I mountain biking. Her and I going to church, and that's in downtown San Francisco. Me working on a car. I always had piece of crap cars. There's the Gates van. I got stuck in the mud. And we did some cool stuff skiing there too, as you can see. Holy moly. Moving on to 8. Got to get rid of these 2. They're gone. This is book 8. Her and I in Cali. Monterey was our favorite place to go when we had nothing better to do. We'd just take off there for the weekend. We were always working on the house, hanging out with friends. There she is, smelling flowers. Her with little seals and sea lions in the background. And that famous tree there. Forgot what it was called there in the Monterey area. Her and I on a dinner cruise in San Francisco. That's me working on the garden and the jacuzzi I put in and the fence that we built. It was a nightmare, but made some money on the house. My friend Shaler came to visit. That's us in downtown San Francisco. My good friend Chris Barger and Jeff, and man, we had fun. My buddy Tony and I at work doing some work stuff. We would do cool stuff, go out on boats to visit clients, and I'd be up in the redwoods, in the wine country, down the Silicon Valley, just calling on customers and my distributors, me and Gordillo and my buddy George, swimming with seals, sea lions, otters. We got to travel up and down. There's Michelle. She was a nanny with her little Claire there, visiting Alcatraz. Michelle's other sister, Marianne, came to visit us in Reno, and gambling, redwood trees, camping, boats, mountain biking. And San Francisco, the Bay Area was awesome. Went to LA. There's Michelle biking at a gay pride parade. We went to check out the zoo. It was wild. There's us down in Malibu. They were filming Baywatch, us in Hollywood. Hanging out with my buddy George. He's doing a thumbs down looking at LA. It's all smoggy. Muscle Beach. Horseback riding. Oregon. Man, we did it all. It was really cool. Us with friends on the beach. There's our old house. That's what it looked like when I bought it. That was on Ramona, I think. There's a deer in the backyard. She would know the address. Camping with Wayne and Barger and Jeff. There's me with paint all over me. That was our dog, Tahoe. There's Michelle scrubbing the cabinets. We had to redo the whole house. It was trash. I paid my brother to help us out, let him live with us for a while. There's a keg party we're having at the house with a bunch of friends over. I think it was a housewarming party. Put a new roof on it, painted, tiled, new carpet, etc. There's my mom visiting. And my brother Bill. We all went to Yosemite or Yellowstone. Yeah, that was Yosemite. Yellowstone was the other one I was talking about earlier. Wow, look at that. We swam in the middle of nowhere out there. Camped. There's El Capitan. This is visiting Napa. And we went to Napa a lot. Sea lions. There's my sister Marcia who came to visit. My brother David came to visit. Bill, I think everybody did. Golfing, my old boss Bob. And we did a lot of work trips, blowing a lot of money, horseback riding, fishing. These are all just corporate parties. Yeah, we got to play some nice golf courses. There's me and Chris at Pebble Beach or Spyglass. My buddy Chris Brock, he pitched for the San Francisco Giants. This is motorcycle riding. So we got to hang out a little bit. My brothers and I skiing, visiting Alcatraz, Lake Tahoe, Army stuff. Golfing. There's my dad golfing with my nephew Jordan. Oh, that was my biggest bass ever, 9-something pounds. Caught that in college. But this is after college. It says 97. Was that the picture? 97? I thought it was like 95. Anyway, who knows? Then I caught an 11-pounder in North Carolina 20 years later. It's weird. Monica, Pat, and Sean visiting. And Ryan. Me running a PT test with the soldiers. Michelle pregnant. What a glorious time that was. Monica visiting, who just had a baby. She had 2 kids there. Us hanging with friends. There's John and Diane, our good friends. Barger and I fishing. Wayne with a nice trout. Us river rafting. Me and my brothers and friends went up to Oregon because I won a trip. Golfing. Michelle pregnant. Baby shower at work. Down in LA was our headquarters for the West Coast. Oh, hummingbirds and puppies. And oh, there's Michelle pregnant. We're on the boat. She was such a trooper. There's my mom visiting for the baby. And she didn't get to see the baby. The baby came late, I think. There's Chandler born. Oh, what an angel. There's the tree I planted at 3207 Ramona. I think that's it. There he is. There's me holding him up in front of the house. There's Michelle. Oh, man, she was a trooper. She pushed for hours. She didn't take any epidurals or anything. She breastfed. There he is out on the boat. He's probably like 10 days old and we're out salmon fishing. I think I got a picture of him that day. Us motorcycle riding, going to the baseball games and drag strips. And me and Chan. That was her uncle, John. God rest his soul. More people visiting. Seals, sea lions, Golden Gates, Alcatrazes. Me visiting my grandma before she passed, Grandma Everly. Me with Chandler on my front. What do you call that? A papoose. Michelle and I rented a little cabin on the beach north of San Francisco. That was cool. Very hard to get. Me visiting my aunt and cousins. Michelle's parents visiting. Tony, Kathy, pictures of Chan Man. There's my dad with Chandler. Us driving around somewhere. Michelle gambling in Tahoe. There's my dad and Wayne. Redwood trees. Oh, this is when we took Chandler to Seattle, Vancouver, Victoria. That was a good trip. My mom visiting in Helen, Georgia. Woo! More Army stuff. I was the commander of some small HHD. It was a maintenance battalion in Benicia, I think. We won best unit in California. That was cool. And Sergeant Jandro. Look at Michelle. So beautiful. And Chandler. That's in downtown San Francisco. And there's that. We were in some tall building looking over at the Pokey building. That's me visiting my other grandma right before she passed, Grandma Moody. Oh my gosh. There's too many books. I'm going to 9. I'm about to wrap this up. All right, this is 9. This is Bill's birthday, Char's birthday. My dad would set up good parties. Grandma's birthday. Everybody's birthday. And this was visiting David and his family. This was visiting Mom. There's Marcia on the bike and all my other siblings and everybody. Grandma. Whew. This is us at some GAM sales conference. I don't know. Hanging out with all the guys. My best buddy George and everybody. That's me giving a briefing. Some seals, sea lions, whales. We would see whales on the boat. That was cool. I actually took my kids to San Francisco a few years ago, and they got to see a whale too. Michelle and I up in Mendocino, California. My dad and I standing on a rock in the middle of a creek. Michelle's nanny job with Claire. Michelle skiing. Camping. There's me and Chan. Oh, he was such a precious baby. The first kid's always the most exciting. Michelle's sister visiting. There's us working on the backyard. Michelle pointing to sold, and then San Francisco. We should have bought that lot. We'd be billionaires. Haha. Michelle and I in LA. It says the Spring Regional Family Meeting. Indian Wells, California. Went to Palm Springs and other places. Good times, good times. Everybody loved Michelle at my work. That was just regional parties, etc. Michelle and I hiking with Kim and Jeff. Did a lot of hiking with them. A lot of cool stuff we got to see. I got to do some great golfing along the coast. Fly fishing with Chris in Northern California. Caught lots of trout that day, I remember. Chandler on the beach with Michelle. Santa Cruz, Chandler with his cake. Chandler at Disney. Fishing under the Golden Gate. We camped under the Golden Gate. We had to get some special pass. It was cool. Michelle and I flying. That was the old fish tank that was in the house. San Francisco, there's little Chan. Went to a lot of professional games, so that was fun. Another regional meeting with all the guys. There's our neighborhood, a lot of deer. Chandler in the tub. Me doing some Army training. I was always in the guard part-time after I got off active duty, so it was a tough life. There's me and George surfing in Cali. Funny story is this surfboard he took to Denver. That one I borrowed anyway. Man, the waves were great out there too. He took it to Denver after he moved from Cali, and it was on his wall forever. And like 20, 30 years later, he's like, you want to take that home? Or I asked him if I could take it home anyway. It's now in my garage, and I use it all the time. This is us in Tahoe, or no, Yosemite, fishing. There's Chandler on my back fishing. We got some really good photos of fishing in the middle of nowhere. Coit Tower, downtown San Francisco. There's a little Chandler on the phone at my office. So I was a regional sales manager for Northern California. For 4 or 5 years, we had Chandler, and I had to leave the company because we wanted to move back to the East Coast. So I went to work for some clown for a year, and I hated it. 9/11 happened. Oh, and then I became a commercial real estate agent. Then 9/11 happened. I volunteered to deploy and stayed on active duty for, I guess, till I retired, working for the Guard full time. So I did 31 years total, but only 20 was active. Christmas, us riding horses, visiting my mother. Miss my mama like crazy. There's that cabin. She added that room on the back. All my kids got to grow up hanging out there with their cousins and uncles and aunts and grandparents. And that cabin has a lot of memories in Blairsville, Georgia. We went there a couple times a year, and we'd stay about a week or 4 or 5 days. My nephews and nieces and Christmases back in Cali. So that must have been a Christmas we just went back. And that's why we ended up moving. We just didn't want to see family once or twice a year. Oh man, that was cool. These are elephant seals. This is when they come down to breed. We got really close to them, as you can see. Saw so much wildlife out there. Bald eagles, peregrine falcons, hanging out with old army buddies that I'd run into. Me and Chan walking at Michelle's favorite restaurant. I think it was called San Pablo Casino or something. They had the best sea bass. Me with my cousins on my mom's side, my Aunt Carlene's kids. I was catching some big bass and crappie up in Clear Lake. That was cool. Chandler holding his first fishing rod. Michelle and I skiing in Tahoe. That's some trans guy downtown San Francisco. There's Chandler on the boat when all the tourists there at Fisherman Wharf looking at him. San Francisco from the air. Grandma came to visit. There's little Chan. Oh, that was a whale. Oh, this is Alaska. I took my mom to Alaska. That's right. Moose. Saw all kinds of whales. Caught some fish. There's Wayne and I putting on a new roof. There's the Carnegie. The boat in front of the house. Working on the garden. More army stuff. Chandler opening some gifts. Chandler and I on the beach. He's naked. That was the only time I remember giving him a spanking. Because he wouldn't listen. I was like, don't go in. And he ran to the ocean. So I wanted to teach him a lesson. Broke my heart. But when I say stop, you got to stop. I was golfing. There's Michelle and Chan. We're visiting her family, my family. There's Jeff and I abalone diving, us coming out of the water in our wetsuit. That was crazy. Look how rough it is. Plus there's great whites out there and we looked like seals. Chandler on his first bike that he got from the peddler. The peddler is still open. Probably not much longer, sadly, but that was the best bike shop in the Bay Area. My friend owned it. Fishing. Michelle and I out in the boat. There's her and Chandler on the boat. San Francisco Bay. Catching some salmon underneath the Golden Gate Bridge. There's a sea lion grabbing our salmon. Chris and I at the 49ers game. Michelle running a 10K on the Golden Gate. Us and I camping. Just great family pictures. Chandler throwing a temper tantrum. Chandler and his buddy Claire, us back at home. Golfing. We were very blessed. We both worked hard, saved a lot of money, invested in real estate, and it eventually paid off. We didn't live beyond our means. We lived within our means. We had a good life, but we saved a lot and invested a lot. Cancun. That's when you could drive all over Mexico safely. We rented this little car, this little bug, and we drove all over. We went to Chichen Itza, the Mayan ruins, climbed up them. Probably can't climb up them anymore either. There's Michelle climbing up. That was a big climb. There's us on top. Mopeds we rented. Isla Mujeres. We went on boats, swam with dolphins, and kayaked. There's her coming out of the water. looking like a supermodel. Went out having some drinks, having fun, dancing, visiting the Milsteads in Florida. There's my family visiting. There's my dad visiting for Christmas. Oh, so much fun. We lived in Pinole there in the Bay Area until like 2001. Then we moved to Charleston. And then to Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Norfolk area. Then to Cary, North Carolina. And now here at Ocean Isle Beach. Oh, me getting my special award. I was the only guy to hit 5 stars. Charlie Monahan flew out from Gates. That was my last year with them. Oh, that's when I landed Indian Motorcycles as the account for Gates. And Charlie took me, there's Charlie, there's me, to a San Jose Sharks hockey game and dinner. Took Michelle out and gave me some gold pin, blah, blah, blah. Oh, there's Michelle and I packing up the U-Haul to move from Pinole. We always moved ourselves. She would do all the packing, I'd do all the loading. Then we moved, like I said, to Summerville, South Carolina. That's us going to church with little Chandler, and Colton was in her belly. Man, good times. I swam there with the dolphins. That was my mom and Char swimming with the dolphins. There's her brother Mike visiting. My sister, there's Michelle's family. They're all visiting. There's the house in Pinole. There's the kitchen. Wow, she did a good job on the cabinets. Did a little tiling. We did some carpeting. It looked great. There's Sam and Mike Breen. Oh, my gosh, this is out of control, I know. This must be Colton being born. Gotta be. He's the second kid. No, that's Morgan. How in the hell did this get here? Where's Colbert? There's Colbert. It's a little bit out of order. Sorry about that. Colton Chandler right there. That's the model of the bridge they were gonna build back then. They had an old raggedy bridge in Charleston going to Mount Pleasant, and that's the model of the new one. And there's Colton and Chandler on it. And they eventually built it. There's Michelle and her mother and father visiting. And there's Kathy with Colton. Must be Easter. The kids have Easter baskets. Easter kids. Little Colton in that swim thing. Looks cute. We had to keep them alive. There's me in my Army uniform with Colton and Chandler on the front porch in Summerville. Must have had drill weekend or something. Colton kicking the soccer ball. Colton on the slide. Colton and Chan. Man, so many good times. It's just the kids having fun. Michelle was blessed. She always worked. Oh, there's Morgan on a rocking chair. My rocking chair from when I was a kid and all my other siblings, we actually still have that. That thing's got some time on it. Michelle always worked hard when she could. It's me meeting one of the Kennedys, I forget. I think he was the one that accidentally killed his girlfriend. Drunk in a car or something. Oh, I don't know. Michelle taking the kids to the pool. There's me, Chan, and Cole in the tub. I remember tiling that tub. We fixed up that house, too. She didn't like the shower, so I put it in a tub. Here's me at Fort Stewart. Me with the soldiers. This guy was a pain in my ass. He was some chief, and I rode him hard because he was a deadbeat. There's Mom and Morgan. Little Colbert. Mom and Morgan at the beach. Me holding a flounder. Fun, fun, fun. Don't know what we're doing. I think that was actually, I don't know what that was. There's Colton, Chandler, and I at Wekiwa Springs. That's where I grew up, and there they are playing. Yep, we took them canoeing. Wow, good times. Well, there's a birthday party. That was our house in Chesapeake, so this jumped quick once we moved. birthday party. Michelle was super mama, always setting up everything perfectly. Chandler at school in first grade, probably kindergarten. There's Melanie and Marianne visiting, and I took them out on the boat. Chandler's driving, how funny. There's Chandler driving the boat, how cute. And that's downtown Norfolk in the background. There's Michelle and I on the boat. The boys at pumpkin patches. Somebody's getting christened. Looks like Morgan. Me and Colton on a horse. Colton playing soccer. I remember that team I helped coach. He was so good. There's Colton acting silly. He's got one of my fins on. There he is dressed up like Spider-Man. Craziest, funniest kid you could imagine. Mr. Personality. There's a party. There he is dressed up like, who knows? He's got my underwear on, one weird sock. You can't see, but it was all the time. He was always making everybody laugh. There he is. There's Mogo. The kids. Oh, this was... Where were we? Oh, that was the Macy's Day Parade, Thanksgiving, New York City. Michelle and I took the kids. There we all are on a boat in New York City in the background. Philadelphia with the kids. Seeing our great country's history. Marcia coming to visit. Christmas with the kids. Family visiting. Oh, man, so many good times. Michelle and I horseback riding, probably in Georgia. There's the kids, too. They were there. Oh, that's a llama. That must be at my mom's, yeah. Hanging out. A lot of Christmases at mom's up in North Georgia. Good times. Char got him in the wagon. Plane. Kids. Michelle's family down in... Oh, there's Chandler's like something at that church we went to. It was like Latin Mass. Michelle's family. I think that was in Atlanta. Playing the snow. Michelle's old bosses. There's Michelle on a bike with Chandler on the back. I forgot what that's called. Michelle's mom, my mom visiting, kids, Easter egg hunt, Easter, Virginia, Colton being silly, Chandler chilling, me throwing Morgan up in the air, the boys wrestling. Chandler was a good big brother. Michelle and I going to some military ball. This is when I was teaching ROTC at Old Dominion. For 4 years. That was good duty. It was hard work, long days, weekends, etc., but worth it. I had a lot of those students email me later. Hey, sir, I'm a captain. Hey, there's Colton wearing my old shirt from when I was a kid. Colton and Morgan naked having fun. Mama visiting. Oh, that was when I got promoted to major. They were pinning me on, my wife and mom. Michelle and I and the kids. Man. So many pictures. Colton, Chandler hitting piñatas. Michelle's brother Mike visiting her father. Morgan and me. All of us dressed up with some pirates. There's Colbert on the boat. I think we took the boat to downtown and did something in Norfolk. Oh, that was Officer Christian Fellowship. Kids having fun. We took them to these Christian camps during the summers. And they had a really good time. Michelle and I riding horses, fishing with the kids. Colton caught a fish. Oh, there he is. And what else? There's all of us out front. That was a good trip. Kids were canoeing and kayaking. Colton swimming lessons. There's Mogo, Chandler, and Colton out front. Michelle and I had another military ball. Goodness gracious. All right, this is my last one. My back's about to fall off. I'll hit these other books another day. Summer family camp. Went to a lot of family camps, Christian camps, birthdays. Morgan's birthday. This is all Virginia. Chandler. Colton with the cat. Chandler's favorite cat. I forgot the name. Chandler and Colton skating. I remember Chandler was older, so he was better, obviously. He taught me how to drop in on a half pipe. There's Chandler missing a tooth. Colton and Mama on a ride somewhere. Morgan on her first bike. Oh, I painted it kind of pink. So that was all three kids' first bike, and I saved it for each kid. Morgan was a ham. She was always Mrs. Personality. That's me running a triathlon. Michelle ran some races. It's me holding up a pinata or something. The old Harley in the background. I bought Michelle a Z3. Chandler playing, baseball. Kids were all three good at all sports. Morgan running around. Ryan Connor visiting. That's Michelle's mom on the back of the Harley with me. I remember taking Connor for a ride also. Just the kids having fun. They were so precious. The best years of our life were raising them. What a gift from God. Totally blessed. The kids, Michelle, kids having fun. We weren't perfect parents. We tried our best to just teach them about God and hard work and loving your neighbor and manners. Having a party with Michelle's family. Michelle and I in the Outer Banks. Where's my old truck? Not supposed to drive on those dunes. Probably Michelle. I wouldn't do that. Michelle and I mountain biking in D.C. Amusement parks. It's probably Busch Gardens. Morgan acting naked and crazy. Colton acting crazy. Both of them in a little thing. There's no water in it. What's up with that, Mom? Colton looks so tired there. There's Aunt Marcia visiting. There's Halloween with the kids. Getting a pumpkin with the kids. Why are they dressed up with a pumpkin? It's rain. Oh, I get it. Chandler playing baseball. Colton acting silly. Morgan, cutie. Oh, Colton sleeping. There's no greater gift besides God and a wife than to raise kids. So many good birthday parties. So much stuff. There's Colton talking to Uncle Pat. There's that old junkie boat I had in the background. That was a good house. We had a good play set. It's me doing some Army stuff with the cadets, taking them somewhere. It wasn't all bad duty. Some of it was fun. Took the kids to a NASCAR race back on the other page. Michelle with some of her friends. We just ran into this one at the airport like 20 years later. We were cutting through Denver. It's Michelle playing softball. I don't know who we were playing for. She was always good at softball. Oh, man. Another church camp week. I remember those folks. We kept in touch with her forever. Mrs. Hemingway. Her son was in the Olympics. That's me doing a skit with the kids and us dancing. I remember that night. There's Morgan in a hat, Chandler in a country hat. That was when Chandler learned 1 Corinthians 4. I don't know what it was, but it was like love is patient, love is kind, love does not easily anger, it keeps no records of wrongs. There's Sarah Hemingway and Michelle. There's me riding to work. I got hit by a car. Might have been that day. Shouldn't have been doing that. I had little kids and I could have been killed. That was stupid. I've done a lot of stupid things in my life. Chandler and Colton acting silly. Michelle and I going to another military ball. Michelle doing a race. Don't know what it was. Here she is rushing to the finish line. Back to me doing stupid things. I've said and done stupid things too, and still do. There's Chandler, Colton, and Morgan with a bass. They're in the bed having fun. Birthday parties. My mom visiting. Oh, that's when I met Dan Marino. I got to meet a lot of famous people, man. The famous catcher, Johnny Bench, and Roger Staubach. I don't know. I can't remember them all. Kids Christmas. That's David's house. David and AJ's. There's Sean. Oh, that's at our house. My mom and I on the couch. The kids at Busch Gardens. Oh, I remember that day. They had so much fun. Colton and Chan. Don't think Morgan was big enough. There's Tony playing ball. Michelle's dad with the kids. The kids. There's Mom and I on the Harley. Kids in the bath. Char's giving them a bath. Oh, there we are. I don't know where we were. I think Norfolk, Virginia. That's Michelle and I at a zoo. Chandler and I still got that hat. Chandler and Colton used to wear that hat. I painted it black because it had so much sweat on it. Boy, so that was from Cali. That hat I bought in Denver. There's me and Chan in Cali. And that was my cowboy hat after I got out of the Army. Colton in my Army boots, acting silly. Me and most of my siblings and my dad. Oh, that was Michelle's helicopter ride. There she is. She's flown on gliders and helicopters, and she's done a lot of wild stuff in her life. That's me with my first big deer. That's me holding a king. Me holding a baby girl. Me holding a baby boy. All the kids. Colton Chandler. I don't know what that was at. Colton's got a shirt that says Kiss on it. I don't know why they were dressed up in white t-shirts. Chandler watching me shave. All three of them there. All of them in the tub. Oh my gosh, I remember that day too. Camping with my brothers. Bill and I at the cabin catching trout. Oh good, it's over. Okay, I'm stopping.